other colleagues, Councilman Vice President Bill Gulliver, was not able to be here. The three of us served on a committee. And before I make my comments, I would first like to congratulate all of you who were recently appointed to the new DIA Downtown Investment Authority. The challenge that you have been charged with is one that needs to be and has to be done. And all of us working together can achieve the goals that will be set forth to move downtown. This is why I'm here today, to make a short presentation on one of the most important city-owned investments of downtown, Hemming Plaza. Over a year ago, former President Stephen Jost appointed the ad hoc committee. The ad hoc committee consisted of myself, who was appointed to chair the committee, along with Councilman Gulliver and Redmond. And Councilman Redmond actually represents downtown. On December the 6th, 2011, our council subcommittee began discussing what can be done to improve Hemming Plaza in the heart of downtown. During this time, we studied all kinds of plans and heard from a lot of people with ideas. I was impressed by the consistent show of public interest. Between 25 and 30 people were in regular attendance. We listened and listened and listened. Much of what we've heard has been very disturbing. Emily Liska said that she often begins historic tours at Hemming Plaza. But because of the negative environment in the plaza, teachers have asked her not to bring children there. The Museum of Contemporary Art is a tremendous amenity for downtown. But the director of the museum says the conditions in the plaza drive away visitors. The museum stakeholders are concerned about being downtown in the vicinity of Hemming Plaza. And it values the investment we've made around it. And as we try to get more businesses to move downtown, Hemming Plaza is a significant roadblock. I met with the owners of a company last week who are interested in actually moving 80 of its employees to the downtown area. But they're concerned for employee safety primarily because of Hemming Plaza. Everyone seems to agree that something needs to be done, and I know that you feel the same way. But what that is and who's responsible for doing it is still undecided, and that's again why I'm here today. Most all of our subcommittee work was done before the DIA was created. I think we served a valuable purpose. Had the DIA been around 2 years ago, the discussion about Hemming Plaza would have started here with you. Or at least should have started here with you. Now that you are in place, and because you're going to develop a plan and be responsible for all of downtown, I think Hemming Plaza should be a DIA project. This is the group that should decide how Hemming Plaza fits into the big picture of downtown. Mr. Chairman, I would like to suggest that the DIA take all of the information that we've gathered, study it, and please conduct your own review. I will say this, and not to try to influence your decision, but if I can, I will. But an idea that I like is creating a non-profit foundation that would be responsible for Hemming Plaza. The foundations would be responsible for creating a sense of neighborhood for the people who live and work downtown, and treating Hemming Plaza like a welcoming front porch for visitors to our downtown government centers. The foundation would be responsible for staging events and hiring vendors. It would front the expenses, but it would also keep all of the revenues generated to go back into the operation and promotion of the park through the foundation. As I understand it, this is similar to the model that would be used for other successful parks and compares to the way the Riverside Arts Market is run. And it's also similar to the park operations around this country. Other groups like churches and nonprofits could use the plaza. But event booking would be scheduled and approved by the foundation. If Mr. Chairman, you and members of this authority choose to follow this plan, or if you come up with another better idea, I believe that even though I can't speak for every member of the City Council, but that the members of the City Council would be inclined to follow your lead and pass any legislation that may be needed. I have prepared 2 completed books on our subcommittee work. One for you, Mr. Chairman, and one for Mr. Bell, who has attended many of our meetings and who you have appointed as the authority's point person for Hemming Plaza. Finally, now, I don't do good with numbers, but finally, prior to your birth, recommendations were being made by the ad hoc committee. The committee voted on the final recommendation, which was to solicit for an RFI, a request for information. That RFI is actually going out today. Our administration used our administration, meaning the mayor's administration, used our committee findings to draft the RFI. In about 30 days, we should have an idea of what groups want to participate, as well as their vision for the future. I close by saying that Hemming Plaza is the gateway to City Hall. When you're leaving out, the first thing you see is Hemming Plaza. And when you're coming in, the first thing, if you look to the right, you see, or to your left, it will be Hemming Plaza. Jacksonville is a wonderful place to live. You've come a very long way. And I know, regardless of what your position is, that we can work together to resolve this problem. It has got to be resolved. This board will be an integral part of that. And we should all right now stop and give a hand, not only for the City Council, but the mayor and all of the governing bodies for creating this board. With that, I close. I will give you the books. And if you have any concerns about Hemming Plaza, any questions, many of the stakeholders, the businesses around, people, the hot dog vendor, everybody was involved. Instruments were used, surveys were done, and the information that we've gathered and collected, I am sure, will be very useful to you as well as others in resolving our problem and making the park a park for everybody, not just for one group of people. Thank you for allowing me to come before you today.
Do we have any questions before we get away?
I was going to let my colleague, if he had anything to say.
Anyone want to ask you questions?
Yes. Does anyone have any questions? Well, it's great to know that you've already made your decision.
I have no comment, but I'd sure like to hear from Councilman Bennett first, if that's okay.
That's fine.
Thank you.
And thank you, Ms. Lee. Ms. Lee did a very good job of going over all the meetings that we had, and we had a tremendous amount of discussion, hours and hours of discussion. discussion with testimony from many people, a lot of different ideas, and you know, we tossed around different decisions. Most of you know I have filed some legislation as a resolution asking the mayor to take the chairs and the tables out of Henry Cloud. Now this is just a resolution asking the mayor to do this, and of course the mayor's going to do what he wants to do, probably whatever this board recommends. I too think that the board, this is a great idea, and I appreciate what y'all are going to do. I look forward to seeing the progress that is going to be made in the downtown area. Being the representative on the city council for downtown, it's been a real issue for me that Henry Plaza. I have a business out in the suburbs. I had a reporter ask me yesterday, you know, if I had this same situation with the people hanging out in the park out in the suburbs, would we be as interested in controlling it as we are across from City Hall? I say yes, we would. We would, and we do. I mean, I've run into instances with parks out in my district, out on the south side, and we don't put up with that kind of stuff going on in the parks out in the neighborhoods. This is a neighborhood downtown as well. So, you know, whatever we do, I think it, you know, I have really just got tired of sitting and trying to get something done and feel like I'm spinning my wheel. And it's getting worse. I mean, the behavior is getting worse in the park. More people in the park. Not only the park, but the library. I mean, it's not, you know, not just the park. We have a state-of-the-art library that the main attendants of that library are the homeless, and they're not all homeless. These people, and most of the people in the park choose to be there, choose to live that way. They're there all day long. I go talk to them. I talk to them, and it's worse on the weekend because we have no police in the park. Unless somebody calls. So there's a lot of issues there, and hopefully y'all will look at this. I mean, the legislation that I have submitted, I mean, we can hold up on that to see what kind of effort and ideas that come out of this discussion and out of the committee. So I look forward to that, and any questions that you might have for myself or Denise now, we've got to answer.
How often do you have a meeting?
Sir?
How often do you have a subcommittee meeting?
Well, we had a subcommittee meeting later in the week, wasn't it? Been going on for a year. We a little over a year. We probably had 2 dozen meetings.
I have prepared the minutes in your notebook and the dates in there. I can't recall how many, but we've had scheduled meetings, and we've also had meetings that might have dictated some type of emergency situation where we need to discuss some things. But,
Mr. Chairman, are we allowed to ask questions? May I? Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Bishop.
Well, yeah, I didn't.
Someone had their hand up.
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
I was, here, I just was commenting that I really appreciate all the work you guys have done and all the effort, because, you know, I know what that's like sometimes, herding cats, trying to put your hand around a problem that almost everybody has an opinion on, but they don't usually, aren't usually the same. So I look forward to seeing this notebook. A question on the RFI, who's the RFI coming back to? To your subcommittee, your committee?
The RFI is going through the same process. I'll let Mr.
Procure.
The attorney is here, drew up the RFI, and I would ask him to respond to that.
Actually, I
believe it's with the Jason Teal, maybe that.
Oh, Lord, that's right, Jason.
But we can get that information. Parks and Rec, I believe.
We're using the same procurement procedures that are used with other requests for proposals, requests for information. The same process is being used.
And I can find that out.
Right. No, I think that might answer that question. And I think the other thing that has to be emphasized from the beginning, the committee wanted to make sure that it was understood that the concentration would be on the park and not the people in the park. Because obviously there was some concerns about if the person was actually homeless or not, or what have you. But all of those, that's why I prepared a notebook so that the chairman, which I'm sure he will disseminate to the rest of the, and Mr. Bailey, would have that, and hopefully that would be able to at least give you a feeling of where the committee started and where we are now. Are there any more? Yes, sir.
Thank
Your
you.
name?
I'm Don Shea.
Oh, all right. You just look so handsome.
I forgot what I just want to congratulate you, Councilwoman Lee, and your colleagues, Councilman Redmond and Gulliford, for taking this on over the last year and compiling all this information, which I'm eager to review. It's a very exciting idea, and there's a lot of other examples around the country with situations similar to Henry Plaza, where private management of a public space has worked for everybody's betterment. And so I think we've got a real opportunity to do that here. The idea of forming a special nonprofit to guide all that is very, very intriguing, and there's lots of good examples that we can go to school around the country, but the way you frame the question is, I think, especially useful for Jacksonville. So I think we should take advice, and your advice. And so since Mr. Bailey was so involved in the committee work over the last year, I'm going to recommend Mr. Harris that we establish a subcommittee of the DIA, Jim as chairman, and report and look at this information and report back to us at our January meeting about a strategy to move that idea forward about establishing a new group and talk about how to implement the plan and raise money. So I don't mean to reduce conversation about it all, but I want to get that out there.
Thank you, Mr. Sheehan, for your knowledge of these type of situations that we find throughout the country, but they do get resolved. And, through a foundation, making no more than 10 people, you don't want to make it so big. But that's what my thoughts were. And one of the other things that you will find in the documents that I will be giving Mr. Bailey and Mr. Harris today, just the overall participation of the business in the area, even when they did not necessarily agree with others, they still came. Everybody didn't agree, but at the end of the day, they were involved. When we start talking about economic development, businesses coming into downtown, who is your greatest resource? The people who are downtown. And that has been the moving force of this committee as we collected that.
I made a mistake, and I said that we would take questions. And I am going to take the question, Mr. Day, before they leave. I think it would be pretty important to hear. Typically, we have comment cards at the end, but I will take your question.
I also I grew up, but I also live in Washington, D.C. area, Virginia, which is a suburban down outside of Washington, D.C. I was chairman of the local emergency planning council of the District of Columbia for a number of years. We had the same problem. Lafayette Park and other parks around, including right across Lafayette, right across from the White House. We had the same problem. We went to Boston. My first question to you is, what cities did you go and look at and talk to about how they address the problem? And then I'll have a backup question.
Okay. Well, the ad hoc committee looked to the success of Bryant Park in New York City and Houston's Market Square Park and others that found success by incorporating a private partnership to operate those parks. So those were two main parks, large, some similarity to our geography.
The other part is that you can't eliminate homeless. We know that homelessness is not a prime condition. But in that effect, we created a separate location for them not to be eliminated, but to be relocated, and to have a zone of permissibility, if you will, for them to be without being harassed. We provided security guards instead of higher priced policemen. And the security guards had radios that could be called police at any given time in Metro Police. But we also had security guards and that we established as well as the Metro Police in the parks that had been the call of areas. And by having the security guards, which is very affordable comparatively speaking to an 85 policeman, our prices officer is a little higher.
Does this sound familiar to you?
But the salary was, but we did have very good luck in relocating. And I just passed by Shands Hospital and Boulevard, and it struck me as a perfect place to create a zone for the homeless to hang out all day without being harassed, without being pushed out, and yet they could be there, and maybe provisions could be there, including public toilets or toilets or something.
Clear to me what needs to be
that
done.
area that perhaps could allow them, and it's again close to the bus station up there. It might be more appropriate to try to relocate them. I don't know if you all considered the concept of relocation.
What is your name, sir?
I'm Stephen Day.
Day?
I have Day Capital Partners. And I will tell you, to answer your question, sir, I brought a group of people down from a defense contractor from Fairfax, Virginia down, and I was giving them a tour of Jacksonville, 4 of them. We drove into downtown. I wanted to see this magnificent library because it really is world class. And we walked in, they just had a bomb scare, and we were standing there with a bunch of homeless people. And they didn't want to go in.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but based on the comments we typically have at the end, again, I'm going to have to apologize to my board, to the board.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I made a mistake.
Answer that.
But please.
Quick. Let me quickly answer your question. I want to reemphasize, again, the charge of the committee was to deal with the park, not the homeless, not the people in the park. So one of the things that the RFI will address will be programming, security, facilities, revenue sources, maintenance responsibilities, and proposed operating hours. And I just want to say, Mr. Day, that I certainly appreciate your comments, and we had many meetings, and some of what you have stated today, a lot of those thoughts were conveyed by people. So we have we made sure that we did not try to deal with people, if you will, but to deal with the park and make the park a park for everybody. But now that the committee has agreed to look into this, and I think Mr. Shea recommended a subcommittee, I think that it would probably be appropriate at this particular time to work with the committee, and all of the minutes are public, and much of what you said you will find incorporated in many of the comments. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
And you all have a Merry Christmas.
We are going to be all over this, and I can say for every meeting that we have, we're going to make sure that it's
Donor.
that we do have discussion. So
Okay.
thank you so much for attending today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Our next order of business is action item, but I'd like to recommend Councilmember Lloyd Porter, who's in the back. I'd like to say
Thanks, Don.
thank you very much for being here today.
Do we need a motion to establish the subcommittee?
Yeah. Yes, we do.
I thought I made you that.
Thank you, Denise.
So right now, repeat what we just said, we're going to set a subcommittee in regards to cleanup fiber. Mr. Bailey is going to chair that subcommittee. And I know of all the information that we got and as successful as he's been on all his projects, he's going to make this a success. So can we get a vote? Do we need more discussion? Is that second?
Yeah, there's a motion by Mr. Shea, I believe, and a second by Ms. Bishop. Is that right? Okay, so now, if there's any discussion, that'll be great, and if not, you know,
They
proceed
always
with
say
the.
one city only wants to run the main part, run the Florida
Can we vote?
Florida theater or something.
Aye.
Tell them we can
Any
stream.
opposed?
Probably have main
Well,
part.
thank you.
I like to see it become a garden.
Our next
Park,
action
like
item,
the rest used to go. People want flowers,
Oh, if
trees,
you can have
grass,
through the
passive park. Limited seating, look at the old photos of the
Yep.
park. 30 or 40
Legislative
years
update,
ago.
yes, sir. Several items are either moving through city council or have moved through city council. I just wanted to make sure that the board was up to date on those. You just heard of 2012-732, the Henning Plaza legislation that Councilman Redmond introduced. Things that you have acted upon, and those have moved through city council would be 2012-703, which is Pope and Land. That is the Brooklyn neighborhood redevelopment project. That has yet to be finalized by the Downtown Design Review Board with regards to their residential component, and they have yet to get a conceptual approval for